Hi friends, how are ya? Welcome back to my channel for a video that I am so excited to do today because we are talking about money. I love talking about things that you probably shouldn't talk about. Nobody talked to me about money growing up, and because of that I felt this need to understand it and learn about it because it is so essential for being self-employed and for having a business and for having a good quality of life. Understanding money is important, and there's no better way to do that than to talk about it. So though it's taboo and probably frowned upon, I love watching other people talk about money, and I love talking about money as well. Lately in my life, I've gone through a big life transition, being the fact that I am now completely self-employed, like 100% self-employed. I started a business. I do content creation here on YouTube. I do social media for a couple different companies. Because of that, my income fluctuates so greatly, and I have to understand all the different business aspects of managing my finances, which has been totally new for me. Some months I'll make double what I make other months. Some months I'll make half of what I normally do. So just figuring out how to still live, not knowing how much money I will be making in a month, has been something that's totally changed my perspective on personal finance. So in today's video, I'm going to be running you through how I manage my money completely, from the business side of things to personal finance to all the different accounts I have and even people that I have helping me manage said money. So buckle in. This is going to be a very, very open, vulnerable, and information-packed video. So I hope you're ready. Let's get into it. I tried my best to kind of categorize what I wanted to talk to you about in separate different categories, I guess. But since my business is just mine right now, it's really hard to kind of keep personal expenses different from business expenses when I'm explaining it to you. I'm gonna do my best. First things first, I wanna talk about all the different bank accounts I have, because for me, managing my money has been so much easier when I have a ton of different bank accounts, when I have set pools of money for set things, and I don't have to sit there and look at one large lump sum of money and try to figure out what needs to go to what. I just like to have it divided literally across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different bank accounts, and I'll explain to you what those are. So at one bank, Brooke and I have our combined everyday checking account, and that's what we use for groceries and gas and date night and even paying rent and bills and all of that type of thing. Everything that would be a normal life expense comes out of that shared checking account, and that is at one bank. But at a whole separate bank, and it's Ally. I love Ally. This is not sponsored. I wish it was. Ally has really great APY on savings, meaning you make significantly more money when you put your money into a savings account at Ally per year than you do most other banks. That's because they don't have brick and mortar. So you actually end up making more money saving there. But at Ally, a whole separate bank, I have 3 different savings accounts and 3 different checking accounts. Now, real quick, the difference between a saving account and a checking account: a saving account will earn a significantly higher APY than a checking account. But a saving account, you can only make 6 transactions a month pulling out, or else they'll charge you random fees. Checking account will make a lower APY every month, but there's unlimited number of times that you can pull money out of these accounts, like a normal checking account, which is why I have some savings, because I don't need to pull money out of it as frequently, but I want to earn more money by having it in there, versus some checking where it's more important for me to be able to access that money frequently and less important for me to earn profit off of having that money in that account. So I have a saving account for taxes. I have a checking account for Janse the label for all of the business expenses, because obviously I will pull out of that all the time. I have a saving account for charity. I have a checking account for retirement, because we have automatic deductions that go into our retirement Roth IRAs every single month. And then I have, this is new, and I'll get into this in more depth in a minute, I have a pay myself checking account, which is essentially, I'm looking at as my employer, Michel, paying employee, Michel. And then we have our emergency fund account, which is a saving account. And in this account, we have enough funds to last us a year with absolutely zero income, which is a really great safety net to have. A lot of places recommend first starting trying to build up a month of emergency funds and then trying to build up 6 months. And we actually probably have too much money in that account. We used to have a lot of that invested, but we ended up pulling out some of our investments before the start of COVID, just because some concerns with the market, which might have been a bad move. I don't know, better safe than sorry, but we will likely reinvest about half of that. So we have a 6-month emergency fund within a saving account. account, and then the other half of that will be invested to hopefully grow at a much more rapid rate. And I will dive into how I use these accounts a little bit more in the further sections, but that's how I divide my money. Is I literally have one primary bank that I use for all of my everyday things and a whole separate bank that I don't have to look at every day with 6 different accounts for different things: taxes, tithe, business expense, pay myself, emergency fund, and retirement. Did I say retirement? Whatever. So this is actually something new that I have set up with this whole pay myself account. This is a way for me to be able to manage my stress of fluctuating income and also to manage lifestyle creep. So for example, the last couple months for me were really, really good months, surprisingly. And because of that in my mind, I made that my new baseline, even though in reality, those were just extraordinarily good months and that should not be my baseline. This month, my income has dropped significantly, still average if you take my whole last year, but because of that, that drop from a really good month has caused me a lot of stress and anxiety. So because of that, I want to kind of mitigate my expectations for income. So it's not like every time I reach a new best is my new norm, if that makes sense. Because that's just a really unhealthy way to look at things when your income can fluctuate so greatly. Also, as I mentioned, I want to do this to help manage lifestyle creep. So if a couple months you're pulling in a lot of money, then you might say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get a membership at this really nice gym, or I'm gonna sign up for this program that costs $100 a month, or maybe it's time for us to move into a bigger, better place because I've had a couple really good months. When in reality, once you sign on to those things, then your expectation of what you need to bring in a month raises. So does your stress level. So I'm just trying to manage that and not give myself too much freedom to play with my own money because I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with that in the long term. I'm trying to be as proactive as possible. So what I have been doing is I calculated after Brook's income how much I feel like is a safe amount of money for me to be bringing into the household every month to cover all of the remaining expenses, from bills to insurance to groceries to even like fun things and like our gym membership and things like that. And so the number, I'm going to be giving y'all some real numbers. I hope you're okay with that. The number that I have decided that is a safe amount for me to bring in every single month is $3,000 a month after my husband's income. That's a number that even on really, really bad months, I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to bring in no matter what, which is great because that's like a baseline. Some months I will maybe make way more than that, and that's great. But I don't need to have that in my everyday checking account because then I will spend that. And then, like I said, my expectations to bring that in the following month will be there when that might not be possible. So how I am doing this, utilizing my different accounts and with that whole new like pay myself mentality is this. Whenever I get any sort of payment, whether that be once a month we get our Google AdSense from YouTube ads, or a brand pays me their amount of money for a sponsorship, either as a direct deposit or PayPal, whatever that might be, I have set up that new pay myself account, and that money will be transferred to Ally where I don't see it. And as soon as I get any sort of payment, there are 2 things I do. I automatically transfer 30% of whatever that amount is into my tax account. At the end of the year, I'm overestimating after tax deductions, but I'd rather overestimate and then be pleased that I have money left over after I pay taxes instead of underestimate and be like, well, shoot, I only set away $10,000 and I need to pay $12,000. It's just nice. Last year, I'll explain this in a minute, but I was way over and it was great. And what did I buy myself? Did I buy myself a new computer? I don't know. So that's what's first, is I transfer 30% of taxes into my separate tax account where I don't look at it, I don't think about it. That is like, don't touch, Michel. Then the next thing I do is I automatically transfer 10% to my church. That's like a whole nother topic conversation. I don't want to get too into that, but as someone that's very involved with my church, it's important for me to tithe. Tithe means 10%. I always do that automatically because it's really easy to forget to give your money away. If you don't do it immediately. And in addition to that, with my retirement account, I have one job that is literally specifically only to fill up my retirement account. So one of my social media jobs, it's a very small job, literally only pays $500 a month. I don't look at that money, I don't touch that money. I have set up an automatic deposit to go into my checking account for my retirement deductions every single month. So that job, I don't touch that money. Every month, $500 goes into my retirement account, and every month my financial advisor pulls out $500 and invests it properly into my Roth IRA. Also, if we're talking about paying for things, one thing that's so important to me is every single bill ever is on Autopay. Whether that be business expenses or insurance or even rent, everything is on Autopay because I don't want to forget to pay a bill. And it also just takes a lot of mental stress off your plate to know I don't have to remember to pay anything out of the norm. Everything will take care of itself. Everything will pay itself. Less to think about, which is great. So the way that I am then using my Pay Myself account after I have deducted 30% to tax and 10% to tithe, that remaining amount is going to sit in this new account that I have called Pay Myself. Every single month at the beginning of the month, I'm going to transfer $3,000 from that account to our checking account. That way, if there's an emergency of any sort, my extra money is still sitting in a different checking account that I can access easily if need be. So it's kind of like a good peace of mind. Or if one month, say I make terrible income, like way less than I'm expecting, I should have a little bit of buffer and I should be able to easily pull out $3,000 the next month into my checking account. It's kind of a way to force me to save also because we haven't been really good about being intentional about saving lately, if I'm being honest, and that's something that I want to work towards. So I am, in addition to that, going to have a set number for that account. For example, I'm thinking about making it $10,000. So for that checking account, I never want it to go over $10,000. So if one month after I transfer $3,000 to myself and I look at the account and there's still $12,000 in that account, then the remaining $2,000 on top, I want to transfer into my actual savings emergency fund account. So now that will never, ever, ever be touched. So this checking account should be a little buffer. So if I don't make any money for 3 months, it should cover me to be able to pay myself into my normal everyday checking account for 3 months. And if it ever goes over that threshold, it forces me to save that money, which I'm really, really excited about this because it's solving a lot of my anxiety towards fluctuating income and it's forcing me to save money. And some months when I have really great months, that's awesome and it will have my back in the future or it will save. And some months when I have really bad months, it's like no harm, no foul. I'm still going to be bringing in the same set salary every single month, but I'm just paying myself out of a whole different account. I hope that makes sense. I also want to talk to you about how I deal with my business expenses and who I have helping me with all of my money management, but this video is already getting super duper long, so I'm going to go over it very briefly, and if you want a part 2 more in depth, let me know and I'll be happy to do it. I do have a credit card, which Dave Ramsey would be very upset about. If you don't know Dave Ramsey, I love him. He's a really great like financial advisor, almost celebrity, but he hates credit cards, which I don't fully agree with, but I do have a credit card to keep track of business expenses. One thing that's really important to me is I never go over 30% utilization. So just as like an easy math example, say if your credit card allows you to put $1,000 at a time, which is very low and not probably normal, but you never want to put more than $300 on your credit card at a time or else your credit score will lower. So I do use a credit card for business expenses so I can have a paper trail of everything that is a business expense, but I never put anything on it that is more than 30% of the utilization amount. And I always pay it off immediately. As soon as the charge hits, I pay it off from, usually it's a Janse the Label expense, so I pay it off from the Janse the Label checking account immediately. But also, as I said, just in case I ever forget about an expense, that is also set on an auto pay. So if for some reason I forget, I just have it auto pay out of one of my accounts. So that way I'll never get dinged and my credit score will never drop. But I also do have a Google Sheets sheet as kind of like a quick reference guide for anything that is very obviously a business expense, like Janse the Label. Like say if I buy new packaging for shipping, that is very clearly a business expense. So I will actually go to my Google Sheet and I just type in the date, the amount, and what it was. So March 1st, $500 shipping supplies. That's it. And that's a really easy, quick reference way for me to add up all of my business expenses at the end of the year, send that to my accountant, and then I can go back and reference those receipts if I need to. But at least everything's in one easy to reference spot. Speaking of my financial advisor and my accountant, I want to talk about the couple of people and tools that I have helped me do this because it is very confusing to do all this on your own. So I do have a financial advisor. I love her. She oversees our investments, our retirement funds, even our like life insurance and things like that. She helps us basically be an adult and tells us what's best. And it's great because we don't pay her. She actually makes commission based off of the like services she helps get us set up with, which is really, really nice. And then we also have a tax advisor advisor slash attorney. She's a law office that specializes in taxes, specifically specializes in people that are self-employed, which is great. So she answers all of my business expense questions, and she also does all of our taxes every single year. So oftentimes I'll set up a consultation with her if I'm doing something new in Janse the Label, which does have like an hourly fee, and she also does all of our taxes at the end of the year. But let me just say, that is the best thing I have ever done. This last year, for her to do our taxes cost us $875, but she ended up saving us almost $10,000 once tax season came around, because she just helped me figure out so many things that were business expenses that I didn't realize. Like, I obviously work from home, so part of my rent, not all of it, just a small part of it, is a business expense because it is a home office. So does part of our utilities. So is our Wi-Fi since I work from home. So like everything. She says, where did you drive this month? From point B to point C, that gas is technically a tax deduction. She literally goes through all of that for me. And though we paid her $875, she saved us $10,000 in taxes last year. So that has been a huge, huge help. And the last thing that has been a really huge help, it's almost like a personal assistant in a way, is QuickBooks Self-Employed. Love them. They attach to all of my accounts, and they're almost like a personal assistant in the sense that they can go through every single transaction ever from all of my accounts, all of my cards, and they can even auto categorize expenses. So if I say every time you see an expense from, for example, let's just say the fulfillment center that is helping me with Janse the Label, that is going to be a business expense under shipping and fulfillment. And every time they see a charge from them, automatically calculates into our business expenses without me having to input any extra information. In addition to that, I forward every receipt. So like if I make an online business purchase, I immediately forward the email receipt to receipts at QuickBook. They file it, and then they find the charge that matches that receipt and automatically pairs it and files it together, which is so nice and makes keeping track of everything so much easier as well. I feel like I just glazed over so much information slash rambled on at like speed 10, and my video is already almost 20 minutes long, so I'm gonna leave this here as part 1. But I would love to do more money focused videos because it's something that I love to read about and learn about and talk about. So if you would like a part 2, let me know in the comments down below, but also let me know specific questions or specific topics or things you want me to touch on about how I handle it, how I do it. I'm learning every single day about what works best for me. Like I said, me setting up this pay myself account is something that I'm just implementing right now because I'm learning that having everything in my main checking account doesn't work for me. So it's very much like a learning slash trial and error process to figure out what works best for me when I'm managing so many random income streams and still trying to live life. I love y'all so much. Thank you as always for letting me talk about things that maybe someone shouldn't share with strangers on the internet, but we aren't strangers, we're a friend group. So I love that, and I love you, and I hope you have the best rest of your day, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye.